Launch Pad 39A, but it also marks SpaceX's 5th as part of the NASA Launch Services Program missions. Those science missions include the Double Asteroid Redirect Test mission that we launched a few weeks ago, the Sentinel-6 microflylic mission in 2020, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite launched in 2018, and Jason-3, which launched in 2016. But our payload tonight is a collaboration between NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, the Italian Space Agency, and Ball Aerospace. The Imaging X-ray Polarimetry Explorer will help us understand fundamental physics of some of the most energetic cosmic objects in the universe by studying the special properties of the X-rays that they emit. NASA's Tiffany Russell rocket will give us a closer look at the main components of IXPE, where those X-rays come from, and how studying their polarization will help us better understand the universe in the years to come.
İlk seviyeli verileri gibi bize daha iyi anlatacak bunlar.
About what's out there in the universe and what it all means, we need powerful telescopes. NASA unravels
böyle bir NASA yükü, yani SpaceX'in 5. NASA yükü dediğimiz uzay için tek uzay gönderdi. ISS
The
dışında.
Imaging X-ray Polarimetry Explorer, or IXPE, will study X-rays from some of the most extreme objects in the universe, like black holes, in a new way. IXPE will look at a special property of X-rays that has gone mostly unexplored until now. It's called polarization. X-rays come from the hottest places in the universe. Imagine powerful explosions, violent collisions, and strong magnetic fields creating chaos in the darkness of deep space. X-ray telescopes can trace clouds of gas heated to millions of degrees and detect the shower of particles fueled by a feeding black hole. Building on the discoveries of NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory and other space telescopes,
uzay teleskobumuz 0 derecelik bir yörüngeye, ekvatoral bir yörüngeye gidecek. Bunun için de roketin yani fazla enerji harcaması gerekiyor. Bu da karaya inişi imkansızlaştırıyor. Bu yüzden iticimiz bugün denizde bulunan drone gemisine inecek. Şu anda sanırsam Just Read the Instructions var. Drone gemimiz Just Read the Instructions Falcon'un drone gemisi olan Just Read the Instructions'a inecek.
Boaters and fishermen use these lenses to reduce glare from sunlight across a body of water. Water reflects light in a way that
Bugün işitici 5. uçuşunu yapacak ki muhtemelen yine bir rekor NASA görevleri için. Yavaş yavaş NASA'da daha yüksek uçmuş uçuş sayısına sahip iticileri kullanmaya başlıyor bu gidişle. Geçenlerde 3'tü, şimdi 5 oldu. Ki bu itici zamanında Crew 1 görevinin fırlatmasını yaptı.
Structures and inner workings of all types of objects that shine in bright X-rays. The IXPE Observatory has 3 identical telescopes with 3 main parts: mirrors, detectors, and an extendable mast, or boom, that separates them. Each mirror assembly contains 24 nested mirrors that collect and focus X-rays. Located at the focal point of the mirrors, sensitive detectors made with international partners in Italy are the secret behind IXPE's unique X-ray vision. They track and measure all 4 properties of incoming light: its arrival time, direction, energy, and most importantly, polarization. Over the 2 years of its prime mission, IXPE will observe more than 50 brilliant objects, like the leftovers of huge stars that exploded into supernovae, the supermassive black hole at the heart of our own Milky Way galaxy, and pulsars, the dense remains of stars that once were. These observations will help scientists tackle long-standing puzzles, like testing competing theories about pulsars and the details of how Einstein's theory of general relativity works. New insights
bir nevi de genel görelilik kuramını da farklı yönde ispatlayacak galiba.
Now we're just over T-4 minutes away from liftoff of the Falcon 9 carrying the IXPE satellite. You can see
Yaklaşık
the
4 dakikamız kaldı.
strong back arms, the clamp arms that are around the second stage are starting to open. Those are attached to a structure, that truss
Artık
structure.
arkadaki yapımız da yani strong back de geriye çekilmeye başlıyor. Bu demek oluyor ki kalkışa yaklaşıyoruz. Ve yakıt doldurması da yavaş yavaş tamamlanıyor. Tabii ikinci aşamanın yakıt doldurması daha tamamlanmadı. Bu kalkışa yaklaşık 45 saniye kalaydı galiba tamamlanıyordu.
Will further pull the TE away, clearing the way for Falcon 9 as it proceeds into its liftoff. We refer to the transporter erector sometimes as the strong back, and you heard that call out on the loops. Now, the transporter erector is used to roll Falcon 9 out to the launch pad and raises it into the vertical launch position. It also routes power, fluid, and communications to both the rocket and the
İkinci
satellite.
aşamanın sıvı oksijen dolumu tamamlandı.
For some of those fluids that completed loading on the first stage, we've completed loading all propellants on Falcon 9's first stage.
Birinci aşama şu an tamamen yakıtlı dolu.
To the base of that transporter erector by a hinge structure, and again that'll retract further away from the vehicle in preparation for launch.
Aynen, bu aralar bayağı yayın var. Hepsini halledeceğiz şimdi. Hepsini hallediyoruz. Neyse, bugünden sonra yok. Şeye kadar. İki gün yok. Saatler de çok ters böyle. Sıkıntı yapıyor. Uyanmak zorunda kalıyorsun. Neyse ama güzel, ama güzel şey. Güzel yani. Şikayet değilim.
From completing propellant load on the second stage, and once that's complete, the propellant loading will be complete on both the first and second stage.
Şimdi son bir dakika kala aracımız startup aşamasına gelecek. Startup'ta da Falcon 9'un uçuş bilgisayarları geri sayımı kendisi ele alacak. Ondan sonra olacak her şeyde eğer bir sıkıntı çıkarsa sistemde bunu sistem görecek.
And then the next activity after will happen around T-minus 60 seconds when Falcon 9 transitions to internal control via its autonomous flight computers.
Gas closeouts have started.
Now, once Falcon 9 has taken over the launch countdown, it'll continue to have control of Falcon 9 through the rest of the mission. The launch director will give their final go for launch.
Bakalım şimdi bugün ne kadar sürecek görevimiz.
And then at about T-minus 2 seconds, we'll ignite those 9 Merlin 1D engines for liftoff.
Falcon is in startup.
So with that, the IXPE satellite continues to look healthy.
Kalkıştan yaklaşık 33 dakika sonra XP bırakılacak.
LD go for XP launch.
Ha bakalım, her şey iyi gibi.
The launch director has given their final go for launch. So with that, we're proceeding into the last 30 seconds of the terminal count.
Give me 30 seconds.
Şu şekilde bir kızılım X-ray gözlem teleskobu fırlatılacak. Bu teleskop bizim yüksek enerjili gök cisminin daha iyi anlamamızı sağlayacak.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10.
İlginç bir teleskop.
8, 7, 6, 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Ateş ve kalkış.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Nominal first stage chamber pressures.
Güzel. Hadi bakalım, Falcon 9 kalkışını gerçekleştirdi. Ve yörüngesine ulaşmak için her şey normal ilerliyor.
T-plus 40 seconds into flight, successful liftoff of the Falcon 9 from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. We're carrying the IXPE satellite into an equatorial orbit, Now we just throttled down the 9 Merlin 1D engines in preparation for the next event. That's the point of max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. That coming up in about 10 seconds.
10 saniye sonra roketimiz max Q'ya ulaşacak. Yani roketin üzerine alacağım. Maksimum aerodinamik basıncı ne olacak? Aşama.
Max Q.
So with that, we are through the highest stresses on the vehicle from the combination of our increasing velocity and the decreasing atmospheric density. Coming up next, the next event in about a minute will be MECO, that's main engine cutoff.
Yaklaşık bir dakika sonra
Merlin 1D engines in preparation
ana motorlar, yani birinci aşama motorlar kapanacak.
The first and second stages will separate, and then at about T+2 minutes 44 seconds, we'll have SES1, or second engine start number 1. That's where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite to carry the second stage and the IXPE payload into orbit. So again, those 3 events coming up in succession: MECO, main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then SES1. And this view, looking down on the Merlin 1D engines from the first stage, you can see the plume expanding as the atmospheric density drops off. So you get higher and higher.
Genişlemeden bahsedildi burada. Etkinin genişlemesinden bahsedildi. Bu da atmosfer yoğunluğundan dolayı, dediğimiz gibi artık havadaki, uzaya yaklaştıkça havadaki maddeler azalıyor. Havada da madde olmadığı için artık etkimiz genişliyor boşluktan. Bakın motorların mantığı da bu. James Webb 22 Ocak'ta fırlatılacak. Ocak'ta özür dilerim. Aralık özür dilerim. Hop, ikinci aşama ayrıldı. Evet. Merlin vakum motoru ateşlendi.
Event successful, main engine cutoff, stage separation. Left hand side of your screen, you can see a view of the first stage deploying its grid fins, starting its recovery sequence. The second stage on the right hand side of your screen, we've got a shot of the Merlin vacuum engine glowing as it continues its ignition to carry IXPE into orbit. Next major event coming up will be fairing deployment. At this point, the second stage...
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
The second stage is getting to a part of the atmosphere with very low density, so we don't need to carry those fairing halves anymore. We can jettison them back to planet Earth.
Şimdi yük kaplamaları bırakılacak. Artık uçuşun bu aşamasından sonra yük kaplamalarına ihtiyacımız olmayacak. Sonuçta atmosfer yok, bir şey yok. Var ama yani yoğun değil. Çok az, çok az yoğun. Evet.
There's confirmation of the fairing deploy, the IXPE satellite now getting directly exposed to the vacuum of space. And those fairing halves again will be attempting to recover those with our recovery vessel named Bob, which is out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Şimdi bu ateşlememiz yaklaşık
4 minutes and 20 seconds into today's mission.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
On your screen is a view of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage.
Yaklaşık bir 6 dakika ateşleme olacak bu motorda.
Planned burns to take the IXPE satellite into an initial parking orbit. We had an on-time liftoff at 1 a.m. Eastern Time. The first stage that carried the second stage this far.
Birinci aşamamız okyanusta bulunan drone gemisine iniş yapmaya başlıyor. Tabii ondan öncesinde bir atmosfere giriş yaparken ateşleme yapacak, hızını düşürmek için. Şimdi Falcon 9'un yapıldığı malzeme bu tür atmosfere girişler için zayıf.
Now, during the entry burn, we'll relight 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. That'll start with the center engine, followed shortly after by 2 of the side engines. That'll slow down the vehicle as we pass back into Earth's atmosphere. And we need to slow down on the first stage to reduce the entry forces, which helps us recover and reuse that first stage. Reusability is a key part
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
Of lowering the cost of space flight, which enables more investment into the critical scientific hardware and research.
Atmosfere giriş ateşlemesine gidiyoruz.
Now, Falcon 9's first
Falcon 9 işte bu ateşlemeyi 3 merli motorla yapıyor.
Perform this entry burn for the 5th time, having previously done so for the Crew 1, Crew 2, Sirius XM, and CRS-23 missions. Those brand new fairing halves will also re-enter Earth's atmosphere for the first time. The second stage, continuing to burn, its burn will continue until about T+8 minutes. And we've heard periodic call-outs that we are
İnişten sonra şey yaparım büyük ihtimal. Daha şey motor kapandıktan sonra.
On the second stage.
Sadece normal ekran alırım.
Stage 1, entry
Hop.
burn startup.
So left hand side of your screen, you can see the
Atmosfere
grid
giriş
fins, and you can see
ateşlemesi.
the plume from the entry burn. At this point, we are firing 3 of the Merlin 1D engines. And we're decelerating the first stage, but we're still going pretty fast. So as we're flying into the Earth's atmosphere, that soot is actually getting kicked back. Excuse me, the plume is getting kicked back.
Stage 1, entry burn, shutdown.
Onto the first stage. And the plume is carbon-based, so that'll deposit a nice layer of soot on the first stage's surface.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
Güzel, ikinci aşamada her şey yoluna gidiyor. Şimdi birazdan iniş ateşlemesi başlayacak ve ana motorda ikinci aşamada motorda kapanacak.
8 minutes and 10 seconds. Second stage continuing to look nominal. Now the engines on both the first and second stage are different. The Merlin engines on the first stage are optimized for sea level thrust, but the Merlin vacuum engine that you see on your screen is optimized for vacuum. And the difference there is how much we can expand the pressurized gases that are being produced by the Merlin engine.
Artık bende o yok ya.
Call out there for stage 1 being
Artık bende şey yok yani, işte heyecanlanma yok öyle.
supersonic speeds.
Geçen oldu sanki kaybediyoruz gibi oldu ama yok.
And next events coming up will be second engine cutoff number 1, that's shutdown of this Merlin vacuum engine, and pretty close after we'll hear call out for landing burn startup.
Nasıl vereyim ya? Abi bildirimleri aç. Bildirimleri açarsan her türlü haberin olur. Ve evet, birinci aşamanın iniş ateşlemesi başladı.
So shutdown of the Merlin vacuum engine. We've
Hop.
got landing burn startup on the first stage. Left hand side of your screen is a shot from the drone ship.
Nominal Stage 1, landing like before.
And correction, that's a shot from the first stage. And on the right hand side is a shot from the drone ship. We've deployed the landing legs, hopefully for a soft touchdown on just read the instructions.
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
Hop, iniş başarılı.
That is a
Altıncı kez kullanmak için birinci aşamamız yeniden inişini yaptı.
This particular first stage having scored 5 flights under its belt. Now the mission isn't over just yet. The second stage on your screen is now embarking on its first coast phase, and it's in its nominal orbit.
Güzel bir inişti.
So after this coast phase, we'll light the Merlin vacuum engine for a second time around T+29 minutes to put it into the final circular orbit for payload deployment. We'll see you back here in about 20 minutes, but in the meantime, enjoy the space jams and the views of the stages.
Güzel, şimdi o zaman bir bekleme aşamasına giriyoruz. Notu geçeyim ben hemen. Hemen ben kendimi kapatayım şimdi. Asıl ben izlediğiniz için teşekkür ederim bu saat. O zaman tamamdır. Büyütüyorum ekranını. Şey yaparsınız.
Acquisition of signal, Cabell.
Evet, geri geldik. Tamam, T30'da gelmedim ama çünkü ateşleme şimdi olacaktı. Oraya bir yanlış yapmışım. Şimdi birazdan ikinci aşama motorları ateşlenecek ve
Welcome back to our webcast.
Ee,
Falcon 9
motor
mission
kapandıktan sonra her şey
imaging
hazır
X-ray
olacak.
polarimetry
Yükün
explorer
bırakılması
or
için.
IXPE satellite for our customer NASA. We've had a great mission so far. The Falcon 9 launched on time at 1 a.m. Eastern Time from Kennedy Space Center. We successfully recovered the first stage, and the second stage completed its first burn, taking the IXPE satellite into its initial parking orbit. Now we're just about 10 or so seconds away from a second ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. That'll carry the second stage and the IXPE satellite into the final payload deployment orbit.
Sanırsam bir saniye hemen bakayım. Şu anlık şeydeyiz. 588 kilometredeyiz. Yaklaşık bu yani en yüksek ne derler? Apojemiz bu olsa, yani en yüksek oranımız bu olsa 500'e bilmem kaç olur. 580'e herhalde 540 civarı bilmiyorum, belki 570 olabilir. Bakacağım hemen.
And it'll put us into a circular 600 by 600 kilometer orbit.
600 kilometrelik bir yörünge.
Looking at live views of the Merlin vacuum engine and some
Yok tamam yok.
photobombs from
Şimdi
planet
buldum.
Earth behind it.
540'a 540 olacak.
Terminal guidance.
540'a 540'lık bir yörünge. Güzel. Motor da kapandı başarıyla.
The Merlin vacuum engine has shut down. The launch team will be reviewing the orbital parameters.
Merhaba, hoş geldin.
Orbit insertion.
And with that call out, we are in the expected circular orbit right above the equator, about 600 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Now, as a reminder, the IXPE satellite is still attached to Falcon 9's second stage. We've got payload deployment coming up at about T plus 33 minutes. Now, if you're just joining us, we had an on-time launch at about 1 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by successful ascent, then stage separation. We successfully recovered our first stage, and we've completed 2 second stage burns.
Evet, görev her türlü güzel gitti. Tamamdır. Yani birazdan yük bırakılmasıyla birlikte başarılı bir görev olacak.
IXPE satellite above planet Earth, currently over Africa. Now, the booster that supported the IXPE launch today successfully landed for the 5th time on our drone ship named Just Read the Instructions that was stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida. Reusability
Şu anda
is a
Afrika'nın
key part of
üstündeyiz de.
SpaceX's mission to increasing the access to space, and we also had brand new fairing halves on today's mission. We'll be attempting to recover both of those on a recovery vessel named Bob. That is another great shot of NASA's Imaging X-ray Polarimetry Explorer, or IXPE. This mission is the first satellite that's dedicated to measuring the polarization of X-rays coming from high-energy objects like black holes and supernova. It's the first NASA Launch Services Program mission that's ever been launched from the Launch Pad 39A, a historic launch pad at Cape Canaveral. And it's SpaceX's 5th as part of that program. This program helps launch spacecraft to observe planet Earth, visit other planets, and to explore our universe. Now, the IXPE satellite does mark also
Yaklaşık 1 dakika sonra IXPE Falcon 9'a ayrılacak ve sonrasında sistem açılmaları falan başlayacak. Sistem açılmadan sonra büyük ihtimalle bir dizi testten geçecektir ve ondan sonrasında operasyonel görevine başlayacaktır.
About a minute away from payload deployment.
Tam 1 dakikamız var.
And once we get into payload deployment, the IXPE satellite will then get to proceed with its 2-year mission.
2 yıllık bir görev olacak. En azından planlanan 2 yıllık. Arttırılabilir.
The laws of nature on astrophysical objects that we can't recreate in labs here on planet Earth. So we'll use the telescopes on IXPE to observe them in parts of our universe. Over the next month, the satellite team will conduct checkouts of the vehicle. They'll extend a boom that holds 3 telescopes on the satellite, and then they'll start observing some of those astrophysical objects. The first one will be a supernova remnant,
Tam emin
the
değilim.
remains of a stellar explosion
Emin değilim yani. Bilmiyorum.
Cassiopeia constellation. It's an object that's about 11,000 light years from planet Earth.
And payload separation confirmed.
Yük ayrılması
There's
başarılı.
confirmation of payload separation. The IXPE satellite floating away from Falcon 9's second stage
Hop, sistemleri açılıyor.
to begin its 2-year mission to study some of the most energetic objects in the cosmos.
Güzel.
With that, it's gonna end our webcast coverage for today. So we want to give a big thanks to NASA for entrusting us with today's mission, SpaceX's 5th NASA science mission to date and the 2nd in the last couple of weeks. We also want to give a big thanks to the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's mission. And of course, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again for the next launch.
Evet. Güzel bir görüntü. IXPE'de son dakika olarak bu şekilde yayında tamamlanmış oluyor. Fırlatma da aynı şekilde. Görev başarılı. Evet, o zaman yayınımızı da bitirebiliriz. Güzel bir yayındı. IXPE'nin fırlatılışını keyifle izledik. Umarız ki siz de keyif almışsınızdır. Bunun gibi daha çok canlı yayın ve video için kanalımıza abone olup bizim daha çok insana ulaşmamız için yayınları, videoları beğenip paylaşabilirsiniz. Bundan bir sonraki içeriğimizde görüşmek üzere deyip hoşça kalın diyorum. Bay bay.